So here we are. All right, so let me share the slide screen over here so you guys can see what I'm looking at. All right. Welcome to the first class meeting for CSE102 computer programming, the second course, where we will start moving beyond the basics of programming and into more object-oriented programming concepts. Okay, so this is the second. This is the second introductory course for the first year students. So this does assume that you have some basic computer programming experience. Mostly the 101 stuff that we did last semester is essentially what we expect you to have already understood. So let's see. So let's just talk about what this semester is going to be like. Okay. So this course, what we will be meeting on Microsoft Teams. My understanding is that is probably the duration of the semester. Now this course is scheduled to meet on Wednesdays at 3:30 and Thursdays at 1:30. Now the way that you see it on the website is that each of those days is blocked off 2 hours, but this course actually only meets for 3 hours a week. So please, if you may have seen on the main channel for this team, on the general channel for this team, I have included a poll for you to say what you would prefer of how we structure the time here. How do you want us to do the 3 hours of weekly time? Basically the options are 2 hours and 1 hour, or do 2 1.5 hour lecture times. So if you just let me know which you would prefer, and basically we're going to do this in kind of a democratic approach, right? And so basically whatever ends up being the one that gets the most votes is going to be the one that wins, sort of, right? Okay. Now, since this is all online this semester, what will most likely happen is I may not be on campus as much. One of the things that I'm thinking is that my understanding is that there are some of the people who are displaced because of the earthquake are staying in our dorms on campus. So, just kind of wanting to give them their space there. So I may not be on campus, may not be in my office as much. I don't know. I need to figure out what is best for them in this situation. But my office hours here, Wednesday to 11:30 to 1:30. What that's saying is I will be available at that time. So if you contact me at that time, you will get me at that time, assuming I'm not speaking with someone else, right? It's another student at that time. Okay. So Berk is going to be our assistant for this course. So if you have any questions or anything that you need to contact him about, please do so. Please do so, and he can respond to you there. All right. So let's see. Moving on. Again, this is an advanced introductory course in object-oriented programming. So there are going to be some things that are beyond the basics of programming that we're going to cover in this course. Okay. Textbook is going to be the same as before. And so if you've already got the textbook from last semester, we will continue into that text. If you're on this, call, then it means that you're already joined this team. So, but for anyone that you know of who's not here on this call, but needs to be a part of this lecture, then make sure they join this channel. This team. One thing I want to point out here is there are 2 teams that the university created because there are 2 courses that the university has here for this class. One is the 102 course, one is the 102T course. That's separate from the 102L course. Okay, so the 102L course is the lab. I am not according to OBS, I am not the instructor for that lab, so I don't know anything about the lab stuff. Okay, so don't contact me about the lab portion of this. But there is an old 102 course. There's a 102T course in OBS, therefore there's two teams. Because there are so few students in 102, and most of you are in 102T, I've asked you to join the 102T team so that we can have one place to put all of the announcements and have the meetings and all of that. Okay, make sure if you know of someone who's supposed to be in this lecture that is not here, that has not joined this team, let them know that they need to contact me so I can add them to this team. Okay. One nice thing here is you can also install a mobile app for your Android or iPhone to your phone, and so that way it'll be a little bit easier to keep up with the notifications whenever I make an announcement or something like that. As you guys, as I said to you last semester, I treat you as adults, or I want to treat you as adults, so it is your responsibility to check and make sure that you're keeping up to date with this course. I'm not going to message you privately every time I make an announcement and say, hey, make sure you check that announcement I made. Okay, so make sure you keep up with the course. Okay. I don't know how many of you were here during the pandemic times. We're in the university during the pandemic times, but we're kind of shifting back to that way of doing lecturing. So hopefully this will not last as long as the pandemic did, but we do hope that we can return to a closer to normal type of way of doing things very quickly, and we hope that soon all of our friends, and for some of us, for some of you, your family members who are affected by the earthquake in the east can receive healing and get back to some type of normal life very soon. All right, let's see. Moving on. Grading. Okay, so there's only really one difference between the two, and that is that the 102 course, which again is the very few of you, there is a lab component to that. For those of you in the 102T course, the lab is a separate course, so I won't include that as part of your grade here, but we will have an attendance grade for you here. Okay, but all of you will have quizzes, all of you will have assignments, there will be a midterm exam and a final exam. Okay. Okay, attendance is very important. If you miss a class for whatever reason, make sure you catch up with someone who was here so that you can know what you missed. So I really would like, as much as possible, to make this an interactive meeting. So I would like for you to give me your input. If I'm speaking too fast, which I have done and often do, please message me. Hojam, please, can you slow down? Or can you repeat that? Or can you explain that better if you didn't understand something, right? I understand. I've been spending a number of years here living in Turkey trying to learn Turkish. I feel like it's okay. My Turkish is not fluent, but is good. But still, I still think that if I were to sit in a class like this that was taught in Turkish, I would have a hard time. Okay, so if I'm saying something that's not clear, if I'm saying something that you don't understand, please stop me and say, please can you repeat that, or please can you slow down? Okay. Make sure you ask questions when you don't understand something. Make sure you answer questions when I ask them. Okay. All right. Homework assignments are going to be set by have a certain due date and a due time. As last semester, you will be expected to have those assignments done by the due date and time. If they are a day late, you will lose 10%. If they are 2 days late, you will lose 20%. If they are more than 2 days late, we won't take them. We're trying to work on getting feedback and grading done faster this semester than was done last semester. So make sure that you turn them in a timely manner. In fact, one thing I want to show you in relation to that too is, well, I have to set it up. I haven't quite set it up yet. Okay. Oh, one thing too is with the Microsoft Teams submission system is if I say that it's due by, let's say March 1st. Let's say today's March 1st. There's no homework assignment due today, so don't worry about that. But let's say that I had a homework assignment due March 1st at 11:59 at night. Okay. If your submission is received at 12:01 on March 2nd, 2 minutes late, Microsoft Teams will mark it as late. Okay, it will be considered as 1 day late. Okay, so I say this as a way to encourage you to try to complete assignments early rather than late. Okay, early rather than last minute, I should say, because I've had students in the past who their assignments have been 3, 4, 5 minutes late or whatever, and the reason was because the internet was slow or the electricity went out at 11:55, you know, or whatever. Those things happen, right? So in an effort to make sure that you don't suffer consequences because of something like that, I encourage you to work on the assignment much earlier than the due date. Okay, try to get it done try to get it done sooner rather than later. Okay. There will be the 2 exams, the midterm exam and the final exam. And of course, there will be no makeup for the midterm or any quiz given in the class unless you have a medical reason for why you were not able to attend the exam or the quiz. The final exam will be comprehensive, meaning it will cover the entirety of the course. The midterm will cover everything up to the midterm date. And then, of course, there's the baptême lamé that we will give as well. Okay. We went through this last semester too, and anyone who's had me for any courses knows that this is just engineers. We do not submit someone else's work as if we were the ones who did it. It's as simple as that. Okay. I don't have any problem with you talking about topics and discussing topics with other students outside of class. I don't have any problem with you searching online for answers to your questions for how does this work, or how does this work, or how someone else may have solved a certain problem or something like that. Okay. Where the problem comes in is if you take someone else's solution, whether it be another student or Reddit or Stack Overflow or any of those places. I don't know, does Reddit do that? I don't know. Anyway, there's probably a subreddit. Yeah. So it's if you take someone else's solution and claim that you did it, that's a problem. That's where we are getting into excuse me, the realm of cheating. Okay. So yes, please discuss these topics with other students. Discuss the topics with me. Discuss the topics with Berk and anyone else in the field, if those of you who may know people who work in industry. All right, but do not take someone else's solution and claim it to be your own. Okay. All right. So how is this course going to be handled? Like, what's our? Oh, this. I didn't notice this. It's overflowing. Okay. So this is the week we are in. Okay, we're doing a syllabus outline. We will do a few slides of the object-oriented programming slides. Right, but I don't want to overload you too much on the day one, right here. And then we will also talk about some of these other topics like inheritance, exception handling. So we talked a little bit, just a little bit last semester about exceptions, specifically when we talked about files, right? Now we are going to talk more about exception handling and why Java uses exception handling and how we do that. Testing. That's a fun one because I like testing. This is one of the topics I really love to talk about. Abstract classes, text and binary IO generics, different data structures. That is not the right date on that. That needs to move up here. Okay, so shift all that down a little bit because the potential Ramazan Baidam, I think it's up here. Yeah, it's up here. All right, well,
Can they tell?
we'll figure it out. Yep. Sets and maps, a little bit of developing efficient algorithms, and then finally sorting and a final review. Okay. If you need to contact me, use my university email address. Alternatively, you can contact me in Teams. However, sometimes if you need to refer back to Hojam, I contacted you about this like 3 weeks ago. Sometimes it might be easier for me to find it if it's been sent as an email rather than trying to scroll back through the chat in Microsoft Teams. But you should be able to contact me either one of those two places. If you email me, make sure you use the subject CSE102T or 102, and then a brief description of what you're contacting me about. Okay. I receive lots of emails. Okay, I teach 4 classes. Lots of students are emailing me. If you contact me and don't put anything in the subject, it's kind of like in one of those like scary movies where somebody's about to open the door and you don't know what's behind the door. It's kind of like, I feel like that when I get an email with no subject. It's like, what are they going to tell me? I don't know. All right. So give me a hint about what's behind the door. All right. So that I can know what I'm about to experience when I open the email. Okay. But don't give me too much of a hint. Like I've had some students that have put the entire text of their email in the subject line. Right. Wow. The subject is everything they're trying to tell me, like a whole paragraph. That's another that doesn't really work well because then it's hard for me to read it. It's hard for me to process it. I've got to copy the subject line over into another text program like Notepad or something like that so that I can read it. It's just a lot of hassle. Okay, so so tell me what the course is. Tell me what you're emailing about, and then in the email put the text of the email. Okay. As I've said before, I will do everything I can to respond within 24 hours of a business day, meaning Monday through Friday. Okay. Now, what that means is that if you contact me Friday at 4 p.m., I might not respond to you until Monday at 4 p.m. No, I hope to respond sooner, but I cannot promise to respond to you immediately as soon as you send the email. Okay, so if, say for example, again, let's say there was an assignment due tonight and you contact me now at 4 o'clock, I might not respond to you till the next day. All right, and so make sure that if you are going to possibly have questions, and the way you can know if you're going to have questions, go look at the assignment before the day that it's due. All right, work on it before the day that it's due. All right, and then that way, if you have questions about it, you can contact me sooner rather than later. Okay, try to make sure that your question or whatever it is you're seeking clarification about has not already been done through like a slide or an announcement or something like that. I've had plenty of times where students will contact me asking me a question and it's answered in an announcement that I just made, and I will ask him, well, have you seen the announcement? Because I made an announcement about this. Okay, so make sure you keep up with the announcements. All right. Some other communication. Okay, so if you have concerns about grading, contact the appropriate person. Okay. I will do lecture attendance, lecture quizzes, and exams. Okay, those are the things I'm grading. The assistant, Beric, will be in charge of labs, which again, this is not part of, only the 102 people they worry about labs for this course. Assignments and any lab quizzes. Okay, if you contact me about the grading of an assignment, I'm going to say, did you talk to Beric? Okay, if you contact Beric about the grade on the lecture quiz, he's going to ask you if you've contacted me. Okay, so make sure you contact the right person. I don't know anything about the assignment grading. Beric doesn't know anything about the lecture quizzes and exam grading. Okay. If for some reason you feel that you should have received more points on something, happens all the time. I've had students that have contacted me and said, I think I should have gotten more points on this question. And sometimes they're right, right? And sometimes I see what they're saying and I say, yeah, you're right. You did earn more points than that. Okay, but reasons that you should contact me about this. My solution does work, but the grader didn't understand it completely. Okay, that does happen. Right? Or the grader didn't see a part of the solution that was on another page. Right? Sometimes, for an exam, for example, a student might put on a back page some part of their solution, and we didn't see it when we were grading it. That happens. Okay, but those are valid reasons, right? And there may be others, but those are some examples of valid reasons to have a grade increased. Something like, I really, really need to pass this class, is not a valid reason for me to increase your grade. I'll tell you, I really, really, really want you to pass this class. Right? I want you to pass this class. I want you to succeed. But you guys know that I take the title of engineer very seriously, and I find a lot of pride in being an engineer. And I see my job as making sure that only those people who have the skills necessary to become engineers are given that title. Okay, or earned that title. And I feel that in order to maintain the respectability, the honor of that title of the engineering profession, that we need to make sure that those of us, the teachers here, those of us who are the gatekeepers, if you will, of that profession, that we make sure that only those who have shown that they have the skills and the work ethic to be engineers are awarded that title. You know, it's kind of like I think about my youngest son. My youngest son really, really would probably love to play football for one of the 3 teams that is in Istanbul. I won't say which one because I don't want you guys to like start arguing about which one's the best. Okay, but he would love to play football for them, right? Is he good enough? Well, I mean, at 8 years old, we don't know, but is he good enough? I don't know. Will he be good enough? I don't know. But when he gets old enough, if he wants to play football for this team, they are going to they're going to test him to determine if he is really good enough to play for this team, right? Would they let him play if he's not good enough? Of course not. But what if he really, really, really wants to play for them? Are they going to say, oh, because you really, really, really want to play, we're going to let you play? I don't think so. All right, and I see our profession as way more important than football. Okay, so I know you really, really want to pass this class. I really, really want you to pass this class. Okay, but show me that you have earned the ability to pass this class. All right, okay. Let's see, a couple more things before we take a short break. All right, last semester's assignments. Okay, so you guys remember the bread store? Well, it wasn't just a bread store, it was a store program, right? We're going to continue. We're going to continue that program. Okay. Now, I am going to put my versions of the solutions for CSE 101 for last fall into a folder on the class materials. Okay, so that you can see what my solutions to those problems were. Okay, they will be in a folder under the lecture examples for this course. Okay, now again, these are my solutions. Do not think they are the right answer or the only possible solutions. There are lots of possible solutions. Okay? These are just so that you can have an idea of how I would have solved the problems that you guys were given as your assignments. Okay? Make sure you understand the topics covered in 101, because we're going to continue into more advanced topics going forward.
May I ask a question?
Sure.
If I remember correctly, my last assignment wasn't as good as my previous ones. So should I use yours as an example to build upon on our next assignments, or should I still try to upgrade mine?
I would. That's a good question, Ozan. What I would think would be, what you would want to do is maybe understand why. Maybe you could even understand why I wrote mine the way I wrote it, but you are more familiar with yours. There's a what's it called? Not a belief, but kind of a. In programming, we often talk about how programmers have what we call a fingerprint. So each programmer kind of has their own way of doing things, right? And so, yeah, it is, yes, similar handwriting. So you have your own fingerprint. You have your own way of doing coding. I don't want you to try to look like me, okay? I want you to look like you, all right? So maybe what you could do is you could analyze my solution and see what about it is different and why it works in a certain way. And maybe you could try to see how you could modify yours to more correctly solve the problems that were presented there, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Thank you for your answer.
Sure. Okay. So back to this before we move on. Make sure you keep up with the course. You know, we're in this online format, which definitely changes how we can do things. But I will try to move at a pace that is sustainable. But at the same time, there's a lot of material that we need to cover in this semester. Okay, so make sure that as we move along, you guys keep up with it. Don't think that you're going to sit around watching Netflix or YouTube or whatever for like the next 3 weeks and not really doing anything, and then suddenly be able to just pick up where you and just like do like 3-4 weeks of material all in 1 week. Okay, don't think that that will be something that you can do. Okay, you're gonna just frustrate yourself. Okay, when in doubt, ask. Right, if you don't understand something, if I've said something that isn't clear, I know English is not a first language for some of you, and I'm from the deep south, what's called the deep south part of the United States, so I have an accent, and so if there's something that you don't understand, make sure you let me know. Okay, if there's something that I've said in a certain way that you're not quite clear on, let me know. Okay, attempting and failing is better than not attempting at all. You know, I'm a believer that a lot of times we can learn a lot more through failing than we can through succeeding. Okay, that if we can learn from our mistakes. Okay, many of you. Last semester, I shared with you my Castane story about going to the Pastane and getting a cake and all of that, right? And I will never forget what the word Castane means, right? Why will I never forget what the word Castane means? All because there's a failure experience that I had with that word, right? And so sometimes we can learn a lot more through failing and learning from our mistakes than we can from getting it right the first time. Okay. Make sure you practice, and more practice. There are lots of there's like Coding Bat and a couple of other sites where they can give you opportunities to take a problem and be able to try to solve it, and it can test your solution to that problem. Okay, I encourage you to do things outside of this class. Try to do other problems that are on like these coding that websites and stuff like that. As I'm sure you are aware, in terms of how am I going to learn Turkish? How did you learn English? Practice, right? I learned very little. I'm not saying don't come to class. Not saying that at all. But I learned little probably in my Turkish lectures compared to going to the pazar, right? And just talking and having conversation, or going to the fırın in my apartment building and talking with the people who work there, right? That is how we really learn these things, right? Okay. One final note on this slide. If you have a class or a conflict with the lab and you want to use previous scores, lab, attendance, quiz, those are the things that we can reuse from previous years. Won't be using, you can't use previous assignment grades, cannot use previous exam grades, obviously. But I can reuse a lab, attendance, or quiz grades. But I need to know by email, I need you to write me no later than the end of the 3rd week of class. Okay, so the 17th of March. That's because these things are not done automatically by the OBS system. Okay, it doesn't automatically reuse the old grades. You have to make that request to me. And a lot of times, the last week of class, we're like rushing, trying to finalize grades from the semester and stuff like that. If you wait till then to ask me, if you wait till later in the semester to ask me, I might not have time to go look up the old grades. By letting me know early, I have time to go look at what the old grades are so that I can record them. Okay? All right. Finally, hopefully you all have one of these already. Hopefully you guys all have one of these Java IDEs, or if you have, for whatever reason, used Notepad with the command line instead and gotten used to that, I guess that's okay too. But make sure you have a Java IDE if you don't have one already. Okay. You know what? That's close enough to the break time. Oh, again, one more thing. Let me. Where are you? Where are you? Let me show you guys. Let me see where the poll stands. All right, so again, if you have a particular request as to how we should set up the weekly meetings, please respond to this poll. As of right now, because over half the class has selected this, but it's only 36. It's not half of the class entirely. But because of over half the respondents have said this is what they would prefer, would be Wednesday 2 hours, Thursday 1 hour. That is what I would go with at this point. So if you would like some other one of the other options for how to do class, let me know through selecting one of these options. Okay, and even these down here, the Wednesday, Thursday, each having 1.5 hours. It's kind of like, would you rather have the 1.5 hours early or the 1.5 hours late? All right, kind of thing. All right, so let me know which one of these options is best for you. And what I'll do is I will set it based on whatever gets the most votes. All right. Looks like I have a question in the chat. Oh. At 4:30, which day? Today? Is there a first year class at 4:30?
No, teacher, that has been changed. Our English teacher thought our lessons start at 4:30 p.m. So she said it will start at 4:30, but nobody answered. So it's supposed to be at 5:30, and it is going to be at 5:30. I talked with our English teacher.
Okay, so it's going to be at 5:30, or it was supposed to be at 5:30, but they moved it.
It was supposed to be in 5:30, and it's going to be in 5:30.
Okay. I guess in light of current events, we should expect some degree of uncertainty, right?
Yeah.
So, all right, happy music, get your visuals. All right. Let's see. So let's do this then. I'm not going to spend a great deal of time after the break, but there is something I want, the one final thing I want to show you after the breaks. So let's take a break so that I can set that up. And then when we come back, I'll show you that, and we'll probably still be done by 4:30 anyway. But yeah, so what we'll do is let's come back at 4:20 and 4:20-ish, and then we'll finish out this meeting, okay? Let's see, I'll stop the recording and I'll see you guys in about 10 minutes.